So I wanted to kind of get your background before you came to multifamily at all. What were you doing at the time, and and how did you and why did you get started in real estate? Maybe what was your initial strategy, unless it was multifamily from the beginning. But talk about the beginning. Why did you even start thinking about real estate in the first place?
So my dad was into real estate, and my first property actually ended up being, you could call it a house hack, but it ended up being a triplex. And so it was actually a multifamily by itself. And I thought, I was just going to buy, every couple of years I'd be able to buy a duplex or triplex here and there. And I realized after a few years that wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to go. And so I had to find something else, and it kind of led me here.
Yeah. So why did you even get started with that duplex? Like, why was real estate even on your brain at the time?
So I mean, I grew up around it. My dad owns a bunch of he does like RV spots. And so he gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was like 14. And that was a huge mind shift change. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have to work for 40 years? Like, is that not something you like? It's a rite of passage, right, to retire? And it's not. So yeah, I didn't know anything about real estate, and this triplex came up and it was a good deal in my area. And I knew just enough that I was like, I need to just jump in feet first, and that's what I did.
How did you fund that triplex?
I got a loan from my dad actually, which is an interesting story. He gave me the money for the down payment, and then I actually just paid him back 2 weeks ago, and that was 5 years ago. So it was a very humbling experience for both of us.
Yeah, yeah. So it's your first syndication. That's pretty awesome. So you did a triplex. Did you have a strategy at the time, or you just wanted to get into some real estate? And what was your plan at the time?
Yeah, no plan at all. I jumped in, and I mean, I bought it when I was 21, so I didn't even know how to make my mortgage payment really. I jumped in, and then as things would come up, I would research how to solve the problem, and that's like being so connected these days. It was easy. It's like, this is a problem I'm having. This is how I fix it. And then after like a year or two, it's like, okay, I can put this on kind of an autopilot, and that's really what I ended up doing. And I ended up moving away from that triplex and getting another duplex. And then after like 3 or 4 months of not even going to the triplex, it made me realize like it doesn't need to be 20 or 30 or 40 minutes away from me. Like, I don't even need to go there, because you can put all these tools and systems in place that can do all the work for you really.
Did you live in the triplex yourself?
Yeah, I lived in the middle unit for a year and a half, 2 years. It was an FHA loan, so I think I was required to for a year, but it was only 20 minutes away from my job, and I was basically living for free, but I was managing and just cleaning up around the place, and we replaced the roof
Love it.
and the windows.
I love the house hacking chance. I really like. There's so many people, Keith Weinhold of Get Rich Education, Tyler Sheff. They all got started house hacking. Because if
Mhm.
you're in the market for a house, well, just buy a 2 or 3, 4 unit house. Yes, there's a little bit of sacrifice because you're not living in a big house, but you end up living there for free. So I really love that. And so you moved away, and then you moved into another. What did you move into next after that? A duplex.
Uh, it was a duplex. It was a single family house in the front and a duplex in the back. So it was another triplex,
Yeah.
but it was a more interesting structure. I was actually able to subdivide and sell them separately, which was a cool strategy.
Oh, I love that. The FHA loan, by the way, what is a down payment FHA loan? Because it's really low, isn't it?
Yeah, 3.5%.
That's so
And
your
then
dad your dad really didn't come out of pocket a lot.
no, I mean, it was a lot to me at the time, because I was making, $14 an hour, and I was like, I've never seen that much money in my life. And now I'm like, I mean, I'm so grateful to him, because I have the money now, but back then it was, I mean, I couldn't even figure it out at
You know,
all.
I love that. What a great investment. I love when parents invest in their children in that way. And arguably, you probably learn more that than in school or in college. I mean, right?
No, I mean, with just the hands-on experience really made me comfortable with managing tenants and doing the day to day. And it's like, now that I've done it, I know that property management's not really my favorite thing.
That's good
But
lesson learned. So you moved in this duplex, and it seems like that was probably job driven that you moved into a duplex at all, or why did you move into that duplex?
it was the idea of growing. And so
Uh-huh.
I'd sold my Facebook page. I had enough money for a down payment, and I actually refinanced. I didn't pull out any money in the triplex. I refinanced it to a conventional loan, and that freed up my FHA loan again. And so I was like, I'll just do the same thing over again, because it worked really well the first time. And that's what I did. I looked for another triplex and I found one in my area. So I had two.
So, all right, so you didn't really have a plan in the beginning. It was like, well, this is a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Let's do this good idea.
Yeah.
At what point did it turn into more of a plan, and what was that plan? When you said expansion duplex, what in your mind at the time, what was your plan at that point?
I had always had a goal in my mind of like 15 to 20 units. And I don't know why. I heard someone talk about you can own 12 houses and you could like quit your job. And I was like, all right, well, if you own 15 to 20 multifamily, it should get you right there. And that was my goal. And so I was like, I want to get something that's not a single family house, something with multiple units and multiple, tenants pulling the same sled, really. And that's what kind of led me to my second triplex.
So you had, you have 12 duplexes to get to essentially 24, 25 units. Now, something changed though. This plan changed because you joined our program. And why did you do that? Like in your mind, how did that plan change of buying 12 duplexes?
I knew I wanted to buy a bigger building, and I live in the Seattle area, and I mean it's expensive out here. And I was like, I don't have enough money to do it. There's no way for me to afford it. And I called a broker one day, and I was like, hey man, I have this much money. I want to go and look out of state before I even found you or anything to do with syndication. And he told me that they would only give me $300,000 out of state to go invest, and then I'd have to use the rest of my money to make up the difference. So I'd have like maybe 500,000 total. And I'm like, that's not going to give me anything anywhere that is, reasonable. And after he told me that, I was like defeated. And then I was like, I know that's not the answer. Like I know there's something else. And this broker literally told me to just hold on to my units that are cash flowing and sell them when I'm 50. And I was like, that's not the way. And so I was like, I'm going to do what I always do. And I just looked for podcasts, and I just typed in apartment buildings, and yours popped up. And I was like, I'll listen to one. And it was like maybe the second one in. And I already knew I was going to do the mentorship. I was like, this is what I'm looking for. Right. And it was there.
Well, why did you do that though? Because not everybody thinks mentorship is right for them. But why did you feel it was? Why did you do it?
I was at a stage in my real estate investing career that I knew what I wanted, and I knew there was a way to get there, and I knew someone else was there. And I was like, I just need someone that's been there before to bring me to where they're at. And I was like, a mentorship, I'm going to get paired with someone who's doing it full time, who's done it multiple times and understands it. And I was like, that's exactly what I need. And so, I mean, yeah, that's why I went
Well,
that
and
route.
you're working with David Camara, who is obviously a full-time rock star syndicator. Interestingly, was in your shoes, several years ago. Had not done his first deal, and then freaking crushed it. And good news for us, he decided to go and help other people do the same thing. And so that's awesome. So what did a mentor? What did they do for you? Uh, yeah, what was that like?
So they kind of guide you through the process. So, I mean, when you get into the course, you're going to take the course that you offer, which is, I mean, I've taken 4 or 5, and yours is by far the most valuable. I mean, there's so much information. I tell people today, like, take the course, and it's everything front to back. But after you take that course, it really levels your playing field. And it's like you have all the tools that you need to go and do this. And now it's really up to your hustle and grit if you're going to make it happen. And your mentor really keeps you accountable. It's more of an accountability partner.
Hmm.
And then the fee that you're paying to do it, that I looked at it as like, I have to do it now, right? Like it puts you in a position. It's like burn the boats. It's like you're spending this money and you're going to make it happen because you have no other choice.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get to the end and feel like you wasted it. And so it just, yeah, I partnered up with David, and David is awesome. He's one of my favorite people I've ever met for sure. And um, yeah, I mean, he's knowledgeable and just has done everything that I've wanted to do. And so he just has real life examples of what I was going through
Yeah.
and perfect answers. It worked out.
That's awesome. Tell us about your first deal. How'd you find it? How big is it? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So it's in Springfield, Illinois. It's 24 units.
And where are you?
I'm in Seattle,
So
Washington.
you're pretty far away. So you're out of area. So Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah, baby. I flew out there for a different deal, and the deal that I found was a lot cheaper. It's 21 units, and I was like, dude, if I'm gonna fly all the way out here, like maybe I should message all the other brokers and just see what other deals I can line up just to look at. And so when I got out there, and the first deal I went to go was just, it was no good at all. And I was like, I'm gonna go look at these other deals, and that's exactly what I did. And this was the second one I looked at, and it happened to be an off-market deal that the guy had just completely rehabbed. And I was like, this is it. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Um, yeah,
Was
on
it
that time, we
was
submitted
that
the
24 unit, was that through the same broker, or how did you get to that 24 unit?
different broker, and I found him by literally, I went through your course on how to find deals, and it said email all the brokers, find them on LoopNet. It was step by step on what you're supposed to do. And so I went on LoopNet and I made an Excel spreadsheet of like 15 brokers. And then I think I found a YouTube video, and I think it's in your course too. It was your YouTube video on like what you write. And I wrote word for word what you said. And I sent it. I sent it to like 15 people, and a few of them responded, a few of them didn't. And the broker Blake, he did. He's like, I might have a deal. Tell me what you're looking for. And I told him, and I had very specific, what I was looking for. And I feel like when you give them that, they'll still give you something that's a little bit higher or a little bit lower. But when you cast such a wide net, they're more wary of it. But since I had such a specific, he's like, he called his buddy that he went to a Christmas party with and asked him if he wanted to sell. And he said he would sell for the right price. And I was like, well, won't we all? So I flew out there, and I got him to name a price, and the price worked for me. And we went from there.
Yeah, I love that. And this is the secret, anybody watching, listening to this stuff is sometimes you got to hop on a plane and even if you're going out to look at a deal that you think you're going to do, even if it doesn't work out, it still works out either through the same broker or through another broker, because who the heck is willing to jump on a plane, especially these days, right? It's like it sets you apart as a buyer. And another thing that's pretty cool actually is being very specific with your criteria, because it helps the broker identify exactly what you're looking for. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, I got someone. He was talking about selling. You're the perfect buyer for this stuff." Why do you think he took you seriously though? Because you don't have any track record. Why is this guy even taking you seriously?
You know what? That's a great question. And I think it's just because I showed up. I mean,
Hmm.
I went there, I reached out to him. I think it just so happened that he had been to that party, on Saturday, and I was out there literally on Monday, and it was fresh on his mind, and I was the first one to kind of hit him. It just worked out that I was there, he was there, he knew someone, and he made the connection just to see, because he didn't know it was going to happen. We walked a few of the units, and we exchanged a few emails, and then we submitted the LOI.
So sometimes timing is an issue, right? It's just where I say, hey, you could do a deal tomorrow or in 3 or 6 months. You don't control the timing of some of these things, but what you can control is the activity, which is you did the work, you did the script, you did the emails, you hop in a plane, right? And when you do these things, good things come out of it, right? And I love that. So all right, so a little bit more about this deal. So what happened next?
So I flew out there and looked at it. It was perfect. And I came back. We came on a price. I offered like 1.1 million or something, and I had no idea. It was way too low. And I know that now. And he's like, no, he'll take 1.3. And David's like, well, beat him up on the price a little bit. I mean, he's not going to go anywhere if you offer $50,000 less.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that because I was nervous. So I was like, 1.3 sounds great. And it worked. I mean, the numbers are perfect. It worked out really good. And I had a tax exchange happening at the same time. So it was like I was on this timeline. So it also lit kind of that fire behind me where it's like, you need to figure this out, right?
That's awesome. How did you fund it? The equity side of it. You talking about 1031 exchange. Talk about the capital stack. What did that look like?
So I came in with 260, and then I actually brought in two investors that brought in $50,000 each, and that made up our whole down payment and reserve funds.
That's awesome. How did you find these investors?
It's actually a family member and his friend, and he's been interested in investing in growing further than what he's doing with his business. And he actually sent me, like 3 days after I got back, a thing about syndications. And I was like, you're never going to believe this. I'm doing a course right now on syndications, and I'm buying an apartment building that could be syndicated. And I had enough money to buy it by myself.
Hmm.
And we did like 2 or 3 or 4 Zoom calls, and they had expressed interest to do multiple deals and put some good capital behind me. And I was like, well, if you guys want to get in on this one to kind of show my commitment to you and your commitment to me, and that's what we ended up doing. So,
That's awesome. So you have these on board and they're ready for the next deal. They're like, Chance, where's the next deal?
oh, I mean, yeah, it's almost daily where my cousin Zia's hit me up.
Love it. Where is the next deal, Chance?
I don't know yet. I mean, I'm hopefully in that same area,
Yeah.
Indiana, maybe. I mean, I have yet to narrow it down. I was looking in Arizona for a little bit because it's a little closer to me. I almost submitted an offer on one up the street for me yesterday, but that ended up not penciling out. And so now we're just searching, trying to find our
Love
next area, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna call the brokers again.
I love it. I love it. What's next for you?
This one deal has put me in a position to be able to leave my job if
Mm,
I want to, which is exciting. And I did just get my real estate license, and so I'm kind of trying to dive in full force on real estate. And hopefully I can get one more deal and I'll be comfortable enough to leave my job and really become a full-time syndicator.
yeah, I love that. And then we'll have to have you back on the podcast for that as well, which is awesome. So, Chance, what is your advice to someone watching this and they're like, man, I really want to get into real estate. I want to do my first deal. I want to quit my job. What's your advice to them?
You want to do your very first deal? I would say do a house hack. I would say start there, live there for 2 years, build up that equity, and then get into syndication. I mean, I would jump into apartment buildings as fast as I could, knowing what I know now, because syndication is always such like a scary worded concept. And then you learn about it and it makes sense. Like there's no hidden or tricky things about it. It's just a skill that you develop and you take the time to build it. And then you can get into some buildings that can really make a change for you and your family, right?
That's awesome. Chance, where can people find out more about you and your business?
So I've got an Instagram. It's called Invest with Chantz, and Chantz is spelled Chantz.
So you're an Instagram guy. So you want to connect with Chance? It's Invest with Chance on Instagram. Awesome. Hey, Chance, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate inspiring your first deal experience for so many other people. So thanks for being here.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you for having me.